Hello. I'm gonna give you guys some time to get on. Hola, mis amores. Hello, my loves. Hi. So, I'm testing. I found this ring light that I have that I thought I had all the pieces for, and it turns out that I don't have all the pieces for it. So, I've made a contraption to have this lighting. So I hope you value this. I just wanted to put that out there. Hi everyone. I'm gonna wait a little bit just to see if anybody else tunes in. I have a few things that I want to talk about. I was actually gonna have music playing when I started this, but because I had to build this contraption, it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. So insert music. Can I? No, that's me muting myself. I don't know if I can add music in here, but I wanted to have, you know what? Let me see if I can still figure it out. Because I think we all deserve it. We deserve to listen to some of In Between while we talk shit together today. Well, really, I'm just going to be talking shit to you because, I don't know, it's been a minute since we've hung out. And I have a lot of things going on. First and foremost, actually, I would like to talk about Saturday. This Saturday in Los Angeles, I'm having a pop-up with some fans. We're going to hang out. I'm going to sing some songs from the project acoustically. Maybe like an old one as well, like a throwback to acoustically. And I'm just gonna do that. So there's tickets available if you want to come to that. It's gonna be drinks and food and vibes, and it's gonna be amazing. So that's a good like starter point here, because it is Pride Month, everybody. It's Pride. I haven't like officially said something about it because it's like, it's Pride every day in my life, because I'm very much on the homo spectrum. Damn, I'm really not alone in my living room right now. I have to remember that. But yeah, I've just been seeing a lot of fuckery going on, and I kind of wanted to talk about it because I feel like I used to talk a lot about political teams. And I don't really get into it as much anymore because I realize everything is a fucking scam, and it's not worth being so, I mean, obviously it is worth, which is why I wanted to talk to everybody. I felt much more passionate yesterday, but you know what? I'm going to pull from it because I honestly, yesterday I felt like, I was like, God is giving me a word that I need to share. So I just want to share it because sometimes, I don't know if that ever happens to any of y'all watching, but sometimes God put something on my spirit and I'm like, you know what, maybe I should share this information. And a lot of the times I hold myself back because I'm like, bitch, nobody cares about what you have to say about these things. And then I realized, like, yeah, but no one cares about what anybody has to say about things. So I could either say what I gotta say, because I say it sometimes in such a way where I feel like people understand, and then whoever doesn't get it, doesn't get it. And that's okay, too, you know? I'm realizing that there's a lot of beauty in the imperfection of expressing yourself, because it's very, I feel like nowadays, especially kind of as an artist, it's a little difficult. I'm trying to figure out this TV and it's not working, so I'm over it. I'm going to talk to you. Let me see if I can... Sorry, I just interrupted my thought flow because I'm trying to see if this contraption allows me to... I'm hands-free, bitch. Yes, okay, beautiful. Okay, back to what I was saying. So I just feel like there's a lot of fuckery going on right now, and I would just like to talk about it. I would like to spew my thoughts about how dangerous of a time we're living in when rainbow capitalism is failing us even. Like, I mean, think about that, right? It's such a potent time right now in American history. And that's not to say there haven't been a lot of spicy moments in our history, but I feel like right now we are currently witnessing like some active fascism, and we've been experiencing it for a while, obviously, because this is a country built on genocide, please. But if we're honestly like in our faces, like in my reality as like growing up and being in a bubble and getting it popped and having to understand the world around me, like I feel like 2020 rocked a lot of us. I don't know if I'm alone in that. I was 23, and at the time I thought I was like, you know, this like I was very into my activism and very much which I obviously activism is much more in action than it is in words, you know what I'm saying? But also when you have a platform, speaking about things I think is really serious and important. And yes, I was gonna like play with y'all first and like listen to music and stuff, but I don't know, this is very much on my spirit and very much on my heart, so I just kind of wanted to speak to some things. I feel like the rhetoric that we're seeing right now, that we've been seeing, and that's been being normalized to us in the media and on these socials, and give me a second. I wanna actually say what I want to say, because I think this is a really heavy topic, and I know like maybe some people are watching, maybe some people aren't, maybe some people don't give a fuck about what I have to say about this. But I really feel like it's important for us to be mindful of history, and it's important for us to be mindful of even when hopelessness creeps into our spirits, and when the rhetoric becomes violent, physically violent, as well as emotionally and psychologically, which has been always, you know, but when it really comes to a point where nothing is really being done and people really just feel free to say whatever they want. And while I appreciate somebody who reflects who they are truthfully, I prefer somebody who is a demon to my face than behind my back, personally. I feel like we're all really comfortable with watching what's going on with conservatives right now. And I used to be really on the tip of like politics mattered, you know, like I really was super hardcore, like we have to make our voice heard, and I still feel that way, because I feel like it's more conflict resolution now than it is anything else. Because while in 2020 I became very aware of things, you know, like all of the like blinders that I had on about just the trust, I guess, that I had in systems that obviously weren't conducive to. I had trust in reform. I had trust in being able to move out of this. I had trust in like if we vote things in that we trust, then we can. But I didn't realize how many people had lost faith, because it's exhausting. I feel like emotionally we're exhausted, and financially we're exhausted, and there is a very real reality, and not for talking points, but that Trump is going to be reelected. Like, that's a reality that we're facing. And not in the sense of it might happen, because we all thought it wouldn't happen in 2016, right? But it did happen. And I feel like to some degree, the level of comfortability that a lot of people got with being their true bigoted selves has become violent. And what I find interesting is that they're always like, ooh, the radical left and the violence of Antifa and all of these things, which, by the way, Antifa is anti-fascism. Granted, I know there's all kinds of things attached to it at this point, but if we're being honest about what we really want to see, these elections that are coming up are, again, like I said, conflict resolution, because we're in the now. While I believe that there is a reality that we can create beyond what we are in right now, I don't believe that reality is going to come to fruition if we all give up on a potential, on hope, on a reality where where people don't have to fight so hard to prove that they deserve to exist safely. I did not expect to cry, I'm sorry. I see some of the things these politicians talk about and debate about. And I know politics are just one aspect of how we can create change. But they're a very strong driving force of the law. And the law, unfortunately, no matter how much it doesn't make sense sometimes, and no matter how unfair it has been to people, because you can literally just turn on Netflix and watch whatever true crime thing pops up next. Most things are about murder, serial killers, rapists, people who harm women, torture. Like, there's so much content out there for you to see of that. But I don't believe that that's all we're capable of. And I also don't believe that that's all we have to offer one another. And I really feel like there's a part of me that wants to give up all the weight on that and just create new realities, because that's really what I see. I see us creating new ways to do business with each other that doesn't exploit each other. I see us doing things to educate each other, because they're shutting down public schooling systems, bro. They're trying to tell us that we can't teach about race relations and the reality of the history of this country. They are moving in such a way where there's an act of genocide against trans folks, like real life. And like, even if you don't understand, there has to be maybe there doesn't have to be, but in my opinion, there should be just a level of respect for somebody else choosing to live and show up for their family and their people the way that they choose, and to present and be as they are. And it might not make sense to you, and that's okay if you don't want to be a part of things, but it's so important for you to understand that just because someone doesn't think or believe the way that you do or in what you do, it does not give you the right to murder them, to harm them, to scare them into non-existence, to abuse them, to torture them, to psychologically manipulate them, to legally bind them, to legally strip them of their rights. We are all watching this in real time. In the way that the Supreme Court is handling a lot of stuff. There's a swiftness to the wave of fascism that we are experiencing. And a lot of the time we get called dramatic when we speak to these things, or hysterical, because we're speaking to very truthful realities of what is happening, you know? It is hysterically fucked up to have to witness what's going on right now. It is hysterical to have to watch the ways that people feel comfortable demeaning and stripping people of their rights in this country. And I feel like it's really interesting to watch the hypocrisy of the rhetoric, because they're screaming like, and I'm talking specifically to queerness right now, like it is completely under attack, and it's Pride Month and no one's really saying shit about it. And we all want to look cute and celebrate and glitter and get fucked up, and I'm with that. Like, I love to dance and I love to be alive. But there's also some very real-time genocidal speak going on right now. And there are real-life people suffering real-life consequences of that rhetoric being unchecked by the media and by us as a collective. Because we are the collective. We're the ones who are watching things. We're the ones making things go viral. We're the ones who participate in the consciousness that we create around ourselves. And I just feel very strongly that we need to organize as effectively as these folks seem to be able to organize, because they are very organized and militant in the way that they attack queerness in any kind of capacity. Most of these companies that have divested from supporting queer folks, queerness. And I'm not saying that like rainbow capitalism is the answer either, to be honest. Like, it's very performative a lot of the time. But to me, it's really interesting how silent we're all being, you know, as we watch things unravel in front of us and we have to choose between lesser evils. I don't believe that we have that option this time around. I don't believe that we have another 4 years of just dealing with whatever happens. And I understand that the presidency also is literally like that much of what's allowed to happen. But it also is an effective social tool, if nothing else, to represent where we're at as a collective, like I said. Because not everyone participates in politics. But if you choose to not participate, you have to deal with the consequences of being reflected by those who did participate. And those who do participate are on the conservative end of things. Those who want to preserve tradition, those who want to traditional values of, you know, white supremacy and capitalism that just are completely destructive to anywhere that we could possibly head as a collective. And I mean, I'm talking about America because I live in America. I'm from America. My parents, obviously, like, I mean, I say this all the time. Like, I come from an immigrant family, but I'm here. You know what I mean? And we're here. And I think it would be so shameful if we all allowed what the possibility of this place could be to slip through our fingers and into the hands of people who use fear and mongering and weapons and hatred as the foundation of their rhetoric and ideology. And then they slap the Bible on it. Like, that's at all representative of what the truth that God has to offer us is. Because I think that that's like a huge thing that we're all seeing, or we're not seeing anyway, is the spiritual warfare element of what we're all experiencing. Because a lot of us are experiencing what happens when you indoctrinate a whole population with individualism. And nobody really gives a fuck about what's happening to the person next to them, as long as they can level up and get to a position where they're in the position of power, where they're wealthy, where they've manipulated a system in order to be prosperous in what exists. And I don't knock anybody doing that, because that's literally how the fuck else are you supposed to survive in this shit? You know what I mean? There's like, a lot of people feel like, okay, how do I secure my spot in what is, you know? And I respect that to a degree. I also feel like what I find most effective about what the conservatives do, and I say effective, not, I don't condone, but I do find it effective that the way that they organize, the way that they're like, you know what, I don't fuck with this company, so I'm gonna make it my point to band with my other people who hate this and this thought, right? This reality. And I'm gonna like violently get behind it. Like, I'm gonna violently get behind the fact that like no gay people should be advertising beer, especially someone who's trans, right? Let's just throw that into the mix. And so violently that I'm gonna buy said product, which, by the way, they don't care what you did with it after you bought it. You bought it, so their sales are good. But either way, you want to, you know, participate in this trend. So you go and you buy massive amounts of this beer, and you steamroll it, you destroy it. Everybody gets behind. Everybody who thinks this way gets behind. All right, we're going to divest our money from this company. We're going to divest our dollars that we earn from these systems that are exploiting us. That's what they think, right? From these companies that are trying to push an agenda in my face, right? So that's, I'm gonna just say though, look how effective they are. That's over beer, bitch. Over beer. Over what alcoholic beverage they're gonna consume to feed their alcoholism. Cause literally, right, but You know what I did notice? That a lot of companies were like, fuck, this was a massive explosion. And these people are actually really intense about what they're anti, you know? So we're going to listen to them because we don't feel like dealing with their bullshit. And that, my friends, is how protest works. But physical protests in the streets, getting mad at people and police with guns and shit, that, while extremely effective and necessary, because I will not ever detract the importance of a protest or demean or take away from. However, something I think we can add to the mix that would make shit real interesting is where we put our dollars and how we spend our money and how we collectively organize our money to make new systems happen. But because we have to play with what is right now, I think you should get into it. I think you should really get into it. And I really think it's important for you to let the people in your life know that you're going to be there to protect them no matter what happens. And yeah, as we watch I feel like I just watch mass shooting in school, defunding of school, mass shooting in school, defunding of school, women, no rights, women, you don't have autonomy over your body anymore. Sorry. Rollback of rights that people have fought and died for. Just because these people are upset that we exist, that they exist. How is that fair? How is that, like, how can you tout, and this is me very calmly speaking, like, how do you tout the notion of freedom and justice as being the beacon of these said principles? And then you're the first, and then you just start rolling away rights like we're not noticing, like we're not participating, like shit hasn't gotten mad fucking expensive for any and everybody and their mother. And like somehow flaunting that you're wealthy enough to do whatever the fuck you want, throw away money, is like what's gonna be praised. It's what people praise. It's what people like love to watch and see. Is like people being like, I've got it and you don't, fuck you. Sorry. Like, that's not really productive. You know? Do what you want. I'm just saying, I feel like as a collective we can do better. So that was something that I really wanted to say. There was a lot of things that I wanted to say yesterday and I don't feel as strongly about it anymore, to be honest. Sometimes I feel like the messages come and I should have just gone live yesterday when I was feeling it, like my spirit was talking. But yeah, I feel like now more than ever, like collectively, artists especially, guys, like if you're here and you're listening and you make art, like be intentional with it, man. Like be intentional, understand your role, understand your power, understand how many people want to be like you, understand how many people wanna connect. You know? There's so many people out here who are on some light shit. And I refuse to believe that the loudest fucking Twitter users, anonymous alcoholics in the middle of the country are the ones who are driving public thought, or the ones who are driving the way that we as a country are going to move, or we as adults are going to move. Because there's just so much gaslighting, there's so much obviously propaganda, but there's just so much rhetoric that is just so false. And so it's like the amount of effort being taken and being put into trying to demonize people who have nothing to do with you. Like nothing to do. Mind your own fucking business. And I bet you will be so much happier when you mind your business. And if we're going to be talking about grooming, because I know that that's a hot topic, a nice little buzzword that we got going on. We want to talk about how the LGBTQIA plus whatever community are groomers, right? So we want to talk about that, which I assume people will want to talk about child abuse, right? When that's brought up. They want to talk about child abuse, right? That's the point, right, that we're trying to make, is that we don't want children to be abused and to be forced into being something that they're not. And beyond being forced to being something that they're not, forced into doing things they don't want to do. Not having autonomy over their voice or bodies. Not knowing about consent, not allowing them to learn about consent because we don't have sex education. Like, I want us to be fucking for real with ourselves. They're banning books in Florida, bitch. Like, banning books. Did y'all read Fahrenheit 451? Did anybody read that by Ray Bradbury? Like, did anybody read that book where the firefighters were like repurposed to be the book extinguishers, and like they would literally go and burn books? Like, it would be an emergency if they found a book that was like a secular, that taught anything that wasn't what was the hive mentality thought. Don't be scared into not thinking for yourself. Don't be scared into not realizing what's going on and learning how you can be a better participant in what is happening around you, because we are active participators, even when we're passive. Especially when we're passive, we are active participators in what's happening anyways. And it's not worth it. It's not worth having to watch. I mean, a lot of shit's already happened. Like, Roe v. Wade was fucking rolled back. That's not a joke. There are states right now that are making laws where women, in Florida, there is a 6-week abortion ban. Half of these women don't even find out they're pregnant until after 6 weeks. Plus, there's no exception for your rapist. Plus, there's no exception for incest. But you talking about you want to protect kids? You talking about you want to protect kids? I want you to be so for real with yourself. You say you're pro-life? Pro-life? But you're okay with the mama dying? I just want to know. And I also really want to know why. Even if that's how you feel, which I respect. If that's how you feel, if you don't feel comfortable with an abortion, if you don't feel comfortable, you feel like it's against God's will, you feel like whatever you feel, valid. Don't get an abortion. I love that for you. Even if it's killing you, don't do it. God's will. You know? But how the fuck does your belief have the right to strip me of my health care right to an abortion? Because a lot of the time everybody wants to be like, oh, she's a hussy and she opened her legs to everybody and she just got pregnant and she just doesn't want her anymore because she's irresponsible. First of all, we're not considering that a man can impregnate 365 women every single day of this year if he wanted to. He could even do 4 a day if he wanted to, and they could all be pregnant, and 400 and something kids could be running around this earth with no father figure. And all those women could be unsuspecting or know about it. But you wouldn't know. There's a Netflix documentary for that too if you want to watch that. You know what I mean? So like, don't tell me it doesn't happen. There's like, y'all make money off of it happening. Stop playing.